Three Nigerians and other foreign nationals injured in fresh xenophobic attacks in South Africa. 2 persons dead in multiple vehicle accident on a Tedela bridge. In international news, Syrians vacate border towns as ceasefire expires. And in sport, Nigeria Professional Football League stars unhappy about season's late kickoff.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Many people have been confirmed dead in an early morning fatal multiple vehicle accident involving a truck, a city bus and 3 other vehicles on Otedela Bridge in Lagos. This is the site of many violent accidents in the city. The Lagos State Traffic Management Agency, LASMA, has confirmed the incident in a series of tweets. Lagos rescue teams involving the police command, rapid response team, LASMA and LASEMA were on ground to salvage the situation. The injured have been taken to various hospitals for treatment. There were reported fresh xenophobic attacks against 3 Nigerians in different locations in South Africa. National spokesperson for the Nigerian Union in South Africa, Odefa Ikele, says the attack started in the early hours of Tuesday and that some Nigerians have sought refuge at the police station. It says South African groups made up of community members and taxi drivers went to different areas in Witbank, attacking foreign-owned businesses and foreigners. All Progressives Congress APC Deputy National Publicity Secretary Yakini Nabena has accused the Bayelsa State Governor Sarake Dixon and his party, the People's Democratic Party, of planning to sell off an oil field owned by Bayelsa State to fund the forthcoming governorship election. Nabena wants the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to investigate the alleged Bayelsa State government's efforts to sell off Atala OML 46 for selfish gains. Atala OML 46 was awarded to Bayelsa State in 2003 by the Department of Petroleum Resources, a subsidiary of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. It is managed by the Bayelsa Oil Company Limited. Nabena alleges that Governor Dixon has collaborated with the managing director of the bloc to assign 41% of BOCL's 51 participating interest in Atala Marginal Field, together with the operationalship to Harking Global Investments Limited. Nabena also accused the Bayelsa government of an alleged illegal diversion of 16.5 billion naira. Coming up, African stories. Zimbabwe prints new banknotes to ease shortages. Economists warn of worsening hyperinflation. And later, Syrians leave border towns as ceasefire expires.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to visit some African countries. Amnesty International says it holds evidence that potential war crimes by Libyan factions may have been committed during the battle for the capital Tripoli that has dragged on for many months. Amnesty International has released a report on Tuesday that says parties in the fight have killed and maimed scores of civilians. The report also says both sides are launching indiscriminate attacks and using inaccurate explosive weapons in populated urban areas. Attacks, Amnesty says, could amount to war crimes. Rival militias have been fighting in and around Tripoli since April. A UN-supported but weak government hosts the capital. Forces associated with a rival government in the country's east are trying to seize it. The UN says the fighting has killed or wounded more than 100 civilians and has displaced more than 100,000. Egypt said on Tuesday it had accepted a U.S. invitation to a meeting of foreign ministers over a giant hydropower dam project on Ethiopia's Blue Nile that is causing an escalating spat between the two countries. Egypt's foreign ministry said the meeting of foreign ministers of Egypt, Ethiopia and the Sudan, the three nations directly affected by the project, will be held in Washington, D.C. Egypt is worried that the Grand Ethiopia Renaissance Dam under construction near Ethiopia's borders with the Sudan will restrict supplies of already scarce Nile waters on which it is almost entirely dependent. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said on Tuesday they will not be stopped from building the dam. Ethiopia says the dam is crucial to its economic development and has denied that the talks between the three are stalled, accusing Egypt of trying to sidestep the process. Egypt says the comments are unacceptable. Zimbabwe's cash-strapped government has started printing new banknotes to ease cash shortages that have seen the few notes in circulation being traded at a premium on the parallel market. Economists warn printing of cash might further fuel hyperinflation that is now the second highest in the world after Venezuela. Zimbabwe has been plagued by cash shortages for the past 3 years, with most ATMs no longer dispensing cash. Faraya Uwakutuya reports from Harare.
Persistent cash shortages have turned currency into a commodity that people are buying at a premium on the black market. To address the misnomer, more banknotes are being printed, a move that shouldn't have adverse impact if everything goes as planned.
A lot of people still have that the former governor of the Reserve Bank, Gono era, where he would print notes to pay for goods and services, which is different from what the current government is trying to do, where we are printing notes in exchange for electronic money. So it's like banks who exchange electronic money that they have in their accounts and get notes, cash and notes and coins into the banking system, which is different in terms of inflation. It doesn't cause inflation.
But people here who've been burnt before are still apprehensive.
We have got a worry that as a market, the government may not be able to adhere to the printing limits that they set. Because if you look at it, they're supposed to print probably up to 10% or 15% of the broad money supply, which is up to about 2 billion. But the danger is that they will print more than the 2 billion.
Another concern is keeping the new currency in the formal system.
Because of Zimbabwe's highly informalized economy, whatever notes and coins are in circulation may end up here, on the streets, exchanging hands outside of the banks.
That would require enforcement of banking regulations.
We have got the laws which we should be able to use to make sure that people actually bank their daily takings, but they haven't been used in the past years.
The recent introduction of laws that tighten currency flows have elicited a public outcry, a response that reflects a lack of confidence, the other currency that's indispensable if economic stabilization efforts are to succeed.
Europeans have been resistant against an influx of migrants into their cities and towns in the last 2 years, but some localities have been quite receptive to them in a humanitarian bid. So it is with the mayor of a French town who has opened the doors to some migrants to help them start a new life in France. Stephen Devares has the story.
This is Farah. Less than a year ago, he lived in a refugee camp in Chad. Today, he signed a contract for his first job in a village in the heart of France, here in Pissa-Villeneuve.
This town is not known for its cheeses, its wines or its monuments, but for the fact that about 10% of its inhabitants are refugees.
They've come from Chad, Eritrea or, like Farah, from Sudan. After the UN Refugee Agency granted them official status, they were flown straight from the camps in Niger or Chad to this castle, the town hall of Pissa-Villeneuve.
This used to be a small holiday resort, but that all changed in 2015 when Gérard Dubois, the local mayor, decided that he wanted to do something to help the refugees coming to Europe.
The
first idea was very simple after I saw the photo of that little boy Alan on the beach. It felt like a kick in the stomach. I had to do something.
A week later, the local council opened its doors for Syrian refugees, later for others. Some of the 500 villagers reacted violently to the mayor's decision.
There was racist graffiti on the walls. I received death threats and was put under police protection. We know that not everybody accepts it, but we'll see. They are here now and they will stay.
A local NGO is managing the resettlement program. As soon as they arrive, the refugees start learning French. Other personalized courses will help them to integrate and to find a job. Thanks to volunteers, they also discover the European way of living.
We take the people to the supermarket to show how it works, what a good man is, to teach them how to pick the groceries.
The refugees stay here at the castle for only 4 months, but that short period is enough to start a new, secure and happy life in France.
I'm so happy I'm come to France here. The France is very good for me and France to help me.
Oh, I'm very happy to stay in France.
For Farah, it's an important day.
I'm going to start working at Baker's in Mozac.
Super. Oui. Vous êtes content?
Oui, je suis content. Yes, I'm very happy. I got a new bicycle from the NGO today for my commute.
And off he goes. Soon Farah, the Sudanese refugee, will be baking baguettes for the French.
When we return, international news. Syrians leave border towns as ceasefire expires. And later, sports. Nigeria Professional Football League stars unhappy about season's late kickoff. Welcome back. This is CNN News. Now to some global happenings. Civilians in cities and towns near the border in northeastern Syria have evacuated the areas on Tuesday in the final hours of their ceasefire with Turkey. In the nearly abandoned border city of Dabasiya, some of the few locals remaining were nervous and angry, saying they hoped the Russia-backed army of President Bashar al-Assad comes to town before Turkey started bombing. After a week of airstrikes and gunfire, Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces pulled out of Ras Al-Ain on Sunday, leaving the city controlled by Turkish-backed fighters. In Dabasiya, families packed the blankets and appliances on trucks, and some of the remaining shopkeepers wrapped up their goods. The Kurdish-led SDF was the U.S.'s strongest ally fighting Islamic State militants, and 11,000 fighters died in the battles. More than a month ago, the U.S. convinced its Kurdish allies to dismantle their enforcement and remove their weapons from large swaths of the border, creating a safe zone between Turkey and the SDF. Then 2 weeks ago, the U.S. suddenly announced it was withdrawing troops from Syria, clearing a path for Turkey to attack, a move Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan repeatedly has promised. In a strange discovery, bodies of 39 persons have been found inside a truck container in Britain. Police say the truck was found by emergency responders at an industrial park in Grays, about 32 kilometers east of London. The victims include 38 adults and 1 teenager. Investigators believe the truck was driven from Bulgaria and entered Britain at the town of Holyhead in Wales last weekend. A 25-year-old man from Northern Ireland, identified as the driver, has been arrested on suspicion of murder. Prime Minister Boris Johnson issued a statement saying he was appalled by this tragic incident. It now seems impossible that the UK will make the deadline of October the 31st to leave the European Union. This after Prime Minister Boris Johnson faced a defeat on his planned timeline just after his first parliamentary victory. British lawmakers approved the bold outlines of Johnson's plan with a larger than expected majority. But then they voted down the Prime Minister's efforts to fast-track the legislation. That would have given them just 3 days to digest the 435-page plan. So now, the whole Brexit effort has been thrown into a legislative abyss that could mean months of further delays to a process of which the nation has long since wearied. The EU has offered a 3-month extension, but Prime Minister Johnson said he would pause the legislation and tell EU leaders he was not interested in a delay. He said he would rather face a general election than ask for a long delay. Weapons of mass destruction, or WMD, became a widely known term in the mid-2000s during the US-led Middle East conflict. Although not much has been said about them in recent years, experts say they still exist. United Nations Security Council member countries and organizations are holding a training course in China on how to slow the proliferation of those weapons.
Preventing the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and their means of delivery are 2 necessary steps towards regional and global peace. That's the focus of more than 20 UN member countries and organizations in the Asia-Pacific region who have joined together to share their concerns and to better implement UN Resolution 1540.
To tackle such global challenges, it is indispensable to pursue multilateralism under the guidance of the UN and with the solidarity of all UN member states.
Officials say China will not deviate from the overall objective of non-proliferation, nor will it scale down its non-proliferation efforts. They also mentioned actions like the U.S. unilateral withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal is destroying global collaboration in this regard.
I wish to emphasize that in an age of globalization and in face of widespread security threats, no country can be safe on its own. And the global endeavor of non-proliferation won't be effective without international cooperation.
Officials also say a more inclusive environment is necessary to ensure all countries can enjoy the benefits of the peaceful uses of science and technology.
Up next, sports. NPFL stars unhappy about season's late kickoff. Please stay with us. Welcome back. This is ANN News in Sport. Stars in Nigeria's local league have expressed disappointment at the late start of the 2019-2020 Professional Football League season, which has now been fixed for early November. Players blame the poor display of the home-based Super Eagles and the West Africa Football Union Cup in Senegal. They are also unhappy with a poor performance in CHAN qualifiers against Togo. They blame bad management of the Nigeria Football Federation for the dismal performances. Some players say the late kickoff of the league has affected clubs representing Nigeria in continental competitions. Cletus Itogo of Lobby Stars expressed his frustrations in the delay, blaming the entire fiasco on stakeholders' selfish interests. A Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja has fixed mid-December for the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation to report on the harmonization of the cases against some Nigeria Football Federation officials. The case borders on alleged misappropriation of a $9.5 million FIFA grant. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has charged NFF defendants with 5 counts bordering on criminal conspiracy, breach of trust, and misappropriation. They've all pleaded not guilty to their charges. That is NN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.